Kia ora tātou. In today's headlines, the Prime Minister is rejecting suggestions that his deputy tried to cover up illegal activity within the Government Communication Security Bureau. Dotcom and his co-accused were back in court this morning, where Crown lawyers were seeking direction from Chief Justice Winkelman as to what effect GCSB's illegal phone tapping has had on Dotcom's extradition case, as well as the invalidated police search warrants used in the January raid on his mansion. The High Court has released the ministerial certificate signed by Bill English, which suppressed the disclosure of information about the GCSB to Dotcom's legal team. That has led New Zealand First Leader Winston Peters to claim that Mr English knew the agency was unlawfully eavesdropping on Dotcom.
He was fully briefed, the document says it on page 1, yet he signed it out, and he knew there was illegal activity, and he sought to cover it up, even from the Prime Minister it appears, for something like 40 days.
Changes to jury service are finalised, with Parliament today passing the final reading of an amendment to the Juries Act. That includes banning some people on home detention from serving as jurors, allowing the court to permanently excuse those over 65 from jury service, as well as privacy measures. The National Bank will cease to exist by November 2014. Owner ANZ has confirmed it is dumping the National Bank brand, with the 2-year process starting at the end of next month. It says 20 existing branches will close, but promises there are no overall job losses. At 9:26 this morning, thousands of Kiwis dropped, covered and held on as part of the country's first ever nationwide earthquake drill, which is also a world first. Over 1.3 million people registered for this morning's shakeout, an exercise designed to test people's response to a major earthquake. Civil Defence Minister Chris Tremaine says it highlights the importance of being prepared and is praising organisers and participants. National Coordinator Joe Gard emphasised that the drill was designed so that anyone could take part.
For those people who had maybe some mobility issues, they could also perform the drill. So if they were in a wheelchair, we just encouraged them to lock the wheels of the wheelchair and then to cover their head and neck. And we know that throughout rest homes and elderly care facilities, many of them did the drill with their residents as well.
Meanwhile, the Earthquake Recovery Minister has used SERA legislation to streamline the consent process for the Christchurch rebuild. The changes simplify the development of worker accommodation and speed up the Christchurch City Plan and District Plans for Banks Peninsula, Waimakariri and Selwyn regions. Mr Brownlee says 30,000 short-term workers are needed for the Christchurch rebuild, which is no small number to have to find housing for.
We had plenty of people telling me a few months ago that we had a problem. We think this is a simple way of providing a limited time period where there could be a different consent process and few different rules under the district plan to enable worker accommodation to be provided more easily. 2
cocaine couriers have received a combined jail sentence of 5 years and 4 months for possession of cocaine for supply. Police found over $750,000 worth of the Class A drug in a suitcase imported into New Zealand on the orders of a third person in the UK, who now faces extradition to answer charges here. Environmentalists are resolute about court action over a Westport mine. The government has suggested Spring Creek's redundant miners could be employed at Bathurst Resources' escarpment project. And Cabinet Minister Stephen Joyce is reiterating his call for opponents to shelve their court appeal against the mine.
If they were concerned about jobs on the coast, and 1 or 2 of them claim to be, then they'd reconsider their position.
But Nicola Toki from Forest and Bird says even those who granted the Bathurst mine resource consent admitted it would damage the ecology and landscape.
From Forest and Bird's point of view, we don't oppose all mines, but with the Denniston Plateau, it's to protect what is mostly conservation land.
The New Zealand Superannuation Fund is withdrawing investment from 4 companies on moral and ethical grounds. Struck off the fund's $19 billion investment portfolio are Indonesian mining company Freeport-McMoran, Texas-based KBR, the Tokyo Electric Power Company and China's Zhejiang Mining. The fund found that the companies, to a greater or lesser degree, breached human rights, environmental safety, anti-bribery and corruption standards. And finally, Mideast tensions have dominated a meeting of world leaders in New York. The UN General Assembly annual debate began with President Barack Obama urging heads of state to denounce the global extremism that has manifested in the wake of an anti-Islam video. Gathered leaders also demanded an end to the violence in Syria, which has killed more than 20,000 people. Ka nui ngā karere mātua mai te whare kōrero o rima, Mauri ora.